Hey, welcome back to the 3D Sapiens Road Show. Part C. Claro que sí, po man. Claro que sí, hombre, vato. Okay, so this part is primarily going to be about the campsite. Give you an idea what I've done and whatever. Because again, you want to have a nice looking. Because this is essentially your house. Okay, this is like your yard or whatever. So you need to have a decent looking place, right? Um, and it doesn't take that much to do it. And that way you get rid of hurdles and problems and waste of time and all that kind of thing. It's also a safety aspect. Some of these clearing trails, for example, before I started, they were more like this, and rocks and little logs and sticks and whatever underfoot that can, if you're not careful, you can fall yourself, find yourself on your whatever butt or worse. Um, Smashing into things. Plus, as you clear out, the lighting becomes better. You can see more, and that's very important at night when there's so many shadows. By whatever lighting method you use, there's going to be a ton of shadows. So the flatter things are, and the less dead stuff there is in the way, the safer essentially that the campsite is. Right. So um, it's not just the aesthetics. It all goes together. And again, a third big thing is the work of doing this is what keeps you in shape. Just loading and unloading and whatever, and setting up and tearing down and clearing and whatnot. Starting fires, making coffee is a pain in the butt, but you can do it fairly simply. It's doable. Anyway, I'm going to be sharing all these kind of things, including some of the foods. As I mentioned before, with the sun gazing, which is something I mentioned in my book as far as aliens. I mean, because if you were cruising around the galaxy or whatever, what better way to get your food than just looking at the sun? That way, uh, you don't have to carry a bunch of MREs or whatever in your UFO, Um, and that would also explain why some of this alien species, there's dozens of them, 57 I mentioned in here. I think they're up to 80 something now. But at any rate, some of these aliens supposedly don't have any insides, which would make sense if they weren't consuming food and they were just getting with those big dark eyes getting the sun or star or whatever they're passing by. But anyway, so between the sun gazing and the work here, I don't eat that much and I'm in really good shape. I have not been to a gym in decades. I have not jogged, run, anything. As far as jogging, I used to run a lot, but now, as I just was reminded on Facebook or whatever, 2 minutes of laughing is the equivalent of 20 minutes of jogging. So now I go to the park and laugh at the joggers. Much better exercise. But anyway, as I mentioned in my Ramitz presentations, part of that is the humor as well, because it's huge. Um, by using all these tools, especially humor, you can kind of compensate for whatever the problem is. So we'll get into all that stuff. Okay, so with the campsite, before I kind of show you, kind of pan around and show you some more, I want to just give you a perspective on scale, like what you're looking that way. You may not know. This way you'll see the car, that way you'll see the tent, and so on. Um, but to start with, let me just walk out to that log, which, by the way, also another nice thing about this campsite, and you'll see me putting this into the presentations and stuff. Um, it reminds me of things like walking on these logs, which is sometimes the best way to walk in the forest if they're not decomposing and you're not fall off, right? Um, One of the best ways of walking around is on the logs. That way, plus you don't get everything looking nice, and then you don't mess it up by walking around on it, right? Well, coincidentally, that log right there, for example, is about the diameter of the pipeline in Ecuador that I mentioned coming up in this next book. I call it Ecuadorian pipeline or Ecuadorian tightrope. It was the Linea Petrolera taking petroleum from the Amazon basin, where they did a really good job at screwing up the Amazon, over the Andes to the west coast, where they would load it on the tankers and ship it out. Well, it went through our property, and like cut the corner of the orphanage property where my dad was an director of the orphanage in Ecuador. Anyway, so there was this pipeline, and we used to walk across it sometimes. There was a couple of ravines not far from the orphanage, and so it was the quickest way to get across them because they were like 100 feet deep. So it was a pain in the butt to go down and then come back up, right? So we'd walk across them sometimes because there was no guide up wires, there was no guides, no nothing. So we fell off. It was anyway. So let me run out there real quick just so you can see, and then I'm going to do kind of more of a tour, and then we'll do a little bit of walking thing until this battery dies. Okay, so now that you've got a little perspective of scale, what you're looking at, um, like I said, this is not a GoPro, this is a laptop, so I'm just going to like pick the thing up and pan around a bit, and then I'm going to take it for a little walk. Um, just so you know, over here you'll see the Subaru, which is my bedroom. That's where I sleep. I've put together these curtains inside that keep it a lot warmer than sleeping outside, warmer and quieter. So it's really, really comfy inside. The tent I just use primarily for equipment and whatnot. And then there's another tent down that way a ways, which is my bathroom tent. Um, and as we go on, I mean, each thing I could spend some time describing what everything is. For now, I'm just going to kind of go past it. I mean, just the caddy that I use right here that I got up. Those of you who've seen me recently in the last couple of years know what I'm talking about. A caddy with all my stuff that, you know, goes with me everywhere, and everything's easy to access. Okay, so, all right, let me pick this thing up here real quick. Okay, so there's the Subaru, which I love. I gotta tell you, man, Subarus, that all-wheel drive thing, love my Subaru. Okay, so here's this log. That's another walking thing, but right now it's doubling as a table. As you can see, I'm using it for stuff. Um, okay, you'll notice the rock work. Took a lot of time, but it's worth it. And again, this is not just so you can go camping for a few days. This is, you're setting up something that you could be using, you know, a couple weeks, few weeks at a time, or a couple weeks anyway, um, you know, around the country, and free. So why not set it up looking good, right? And then once it's done, then you can relax and get to work. Okay, so there's the tent over there. Again, that's just kind of like a storage thing for now. All right, so I'm going to unplug this thing, and oh, looks like the battery's charged up, so I have a whole maybe 10 minutes if I'm lucky. So let me go do a little quick walking tour of this thing, and that'll be it for part C. Um, I don't know. I'm going to be recording probably some other stuff today, but that'll probably do it for this launch episode. Again, look for all this information broken up into different pieces and stuff, into the different programs like you would find on a particular channel, right? So, anyway, all right, so we are going to unplug, and we're going for a walk. We're walking, yes, indeed, and we're whatever. Speaking of equipment, yes, I would love some more equipment. This is the kind of thing, donors, sponsors, whatever. Pretty much anything's better than a laptop. So, right? So there's looking back at where I had basically the stage set up for when I'm shooting here. This is the perfect time of the day. For the next hour, the light is just incredible. Okay, so let's walk around old Sue Buddy here. I got the car running to keep the battery charged. Again, I will be experimenting with different power systems as well. I definitely want some solar panels because I've seen people using those. Those would be perfect. You see wood laying up against things. That means it's drying out. And luckily, nobody comes over in this side. The camp. This isn't really a campground. It's just like wild camping, and most people tend to camp over that side, on the other side of those trees and stuff. Hardly anybody ever comes up here. I've only seen one person, and that was with the rifle, a hunter walking through, which is not the kind of people I want. I've seen more deer. I've seen deer wander through here. I've seen ravens are coming down and checking them out. I talk to them, and because ravens are very smart critters, and so I've been talking to the ravens, and there's a chipmunk that comes around. He doesn't like me because I've totally screwed up his area, apparently. He's just, all he does is just yak at me. So, again, these trails that we're walking on were not flat. Here's the log that I was on a little bit ago, just again to give you a perspective. So, feeling back in Ecuador. Yo soy el chuchita quiteño, la vida la paso encantado. Para mí la vida es sueño, bajo este mi cielo amado. Okay, so here's a little perspective. Again, car, tent, so on. You can see everything, right? The ground did not look like this, trust me. If you look, you can see areas that are more or less cleared, and that's for very specific reasons. There's wood piles, but a lot of dead wood. Another nice thing of being the only person around here is that there's all kinds of dead wood for me to use. So, over here is hardly cleared at all. Over here it's cleared quite a bit. And then, of course, the trails are raked. And then those two little islands with the little saplings with the rocks around them, those were cleared out really, really well. And now I just go through and hand pick out the whatever dead wood falls or whatever to keep them that way. So there's various stages of clearing things, which, again, I'll talk about. Let's see. Down there, you can't quite make it out. Just behind the dead tree and that boulder, there's the other tent. Let me keep walking. Whoa. Going down a boulder. Whoa. All right. Still can't see it. Okay, so we're walking. You'll notice these kind of trails are hardly used because the only time I really go down here is when I go use the restroom. So we're walking. So here's my outhouse. The dead wood is to block the view of it from back at the campsite in case somebody goes over there and sees that. I don't want them seeing this too. So this is what pretty much uncleared area. Actually, partially cleared because some of these rocks I moved around. I'll talk about ways of moving rocks around without breaking your back, because one of the other things about this show is that all of these loads, everything I'm doing, is keeping in mind that my back is not great. So loads are broken down into small bits, smaller loads that don't weigh so much. And again, I've tried to work out all the bugs so you don't waste a whole lot of time on things that don't need to happen. So, you're not wasting energy, literally wasting energy. Okay, so this one here is one of the less cleared out trails. Riders, you know what these trails are for. Half of riding, no, more than that. I'd say like 90% of riding is just thinking. Walking around for me, walking and thinking. It's perfect around here. So even as I'm clearing out all this stuff, since it's not exactly rocket science, I was able to, come up with a lot of ideas, and I keep coming up with ideas. You'll notice, by the way, the moss. Ooh, shit. Okay, we're still here. Good. The battery is about to die. I had to come plug it in real quick. Okay. Anyway, so I will be going into great detail how to do this kind of thing, um, how to break down loads into manageable levels that don't tweak your back, how to combine things as much as possible, and again, starting at a very basic level. Um, Starting, you know, car 10. That's it. Um, because when you do it right, you can take. I will be able to just in that car when I'm done completely working everything out. I'll be able to take, in addition to all the camping gear you see, and the computer, and my books, and the manuscripts that I'm working on, a couple different big binders with office kind of stuff, copies of books. I'll also be able to take rappelling gear, fishing gear, skydiving slash base jumping gear, all that stuff. And eventually, with help, donors, whatever, sponsors, better income, more space, bigger vehicle, trailer with kayak, sea kayak, whitewater kayak, canoe, the whole schmear, all the toys. But already in here, like I said, I've got a bunch of stuff, even my skateboard that goes with me everywhere, skateboard and some of the rappelling gear. I have 3 ropes. I don't take all 3 of them. Usually one's enough for most stuff we do. Uh, so you can pack a lot of fun in one little car. Okay, well, that's probably enough for today, I would think, for this. So if you haven't checked out parts A and part A and part B, this is not the only part. Um, and all this information again will be in different channels, so you can pick and choose. Not channel, sorry, YouTube channel, but different programs where you can pick and choose the channel or did it again, the programs that you want to watch. Um, Tune in, stay tuned when we're traveling around. When I'm traveling around, I'm always looking for cool people to hang out with, people to teach rappelling, especially things that I need to do like that on camera. Um, Guests like Al, including real people, not just. Well, anyway. Um, but as I mentioned in the song on the last part, be patient because I'm doing this all right now. It's just me, myself, and I, and me and myself. Guys, shut up! These guys are always arguing, so I take the brunt of the load here. So shut up. Anyway, but things will get better, better equipment, more help. I would love to see my sons, all 4 of them. I would love all 4 of us to be traveling, put a band together, whatever. That's my dream, my personal dream, my personal dream. When I see where this is all going, I see it with my 4 sons. Uh, as for what I'm doing, again, it's just I'm a teacher, I'm sharing knowledge, and doesn't cost anything here on YouTube. So hope you'll stay tuned in. Um, if you've got comments, suggestions, I will be posting this everywhere, Facebook and wherever that I belong to. Uh, Comments, feedback, whatever. I can take criticism, unlike some people I know, but because that's the only way you learn. I'm not perfect. I have no problem admitting that. I'm a slob. My clothing, for example, I don't wear shirts. I mean, I don't have shirts. What I have are bibs. I have long sleeve bibs. I have thick bibs. I have tank top bibs. But they're all bibs because I don't know. Food really loves me or something. Because anyway, so I'm a slob. I got dumble ears. I have to be careful when the wind picks up because I'm like, whoa. So if you can't laugh at yourself, what's the point, man? You're never gonna learn. So dust. Sorry. Go away, dust. Go away, dust. Dust in the wind. Little Kansas. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. We're in Yosemite almost. Okay. So, you can do this for free, almost pretty much with what you got. You can start easy, and then we'll move up. Just be a little patient, and stay tuned. Feedback, love it. Want to hear what's going on, what you think is good, what's not good, what you want to hear more of, less of, whatever. Because that's the beauty of this. The way I'm setting this up, I'll be able to split it up into a whole bunch of different programs and special programs and so on. Um, so, any last words, Al? Nothing to say, like usual. Okay, crows aren't even here. Nobody's around today. So, again, thanks for tuning in. Hope you've learned some good stuff already. But again, this is just an intro. This is the kind of stuff that I will be talking about. So, from a couple hundred yards away from Yosemite, signing off. Get there. Oh wow.